Welcome, Hearties. I am Sarah Nitch, and I am the Hawk-Eyed Heartie, and this is my co-host, Cammie, the Hooked Heartie, and we are here on Hearties Hotline to welcome you and chat about Season 9, Episode 10, Never Say Never. So, Cammie, do you have the question of the day?
I do have the question of the day, Sarah. So the question of the day is, what is the biggest never?
Oh.
Because I actually made a list of all the things.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. In my handy dandy notebook, just for you, Pia and Kristen. But I made a list of all the things that history of Hope Valley has told us would never happen.
Oh,
never say never. So
okay, so I have to start by answering and making sure everyone knows I do not get these questions of the day in advance.
I'm totally putting her on the spot.
I am totally caught off guard on this question. Okay.
Here, I'll start you off.
Okay.
Rosemary was never going to get pregnant.
Well, she didn't think she was. I, in the back of my head, I figured it could happen. But
yes,
yeah.
But in the history of Hope Valley,
of the show, that was the angle that was being portrayed, right?
Precisely.
Okay. I gotta go with the mine was never going to reopen.
Okay, so Hearties, you answer this question of the day. What is the biggest never? What is the biggest thing that was never going to happen that in this episode there was evidence of it happening? So do you want me to say some more things that I wrote
Absolutely.
down? Okay.
What else is on your list?
Nathan would never take a plea deal.
That's fair.
Mike would never become mayor. Mike would never leave Hope Valley. Ah!
Come back, Mike.
Come back, Mike. Come back. Faith would never become a doctor. Remember all of her talk? I had this silly dream of becoming a doctor. And voila, Joseph would never accept help from Lee or forgive him for going behind his back. We knew he was going to forgive him.
No, that he never would forgive him.
No, we knew he was going to forgive him. But in Joseph's perspective, I think it was going to take a lot longer for him than it did. In season 2, we would have said Henry Gowan will never be a good person.
We have seen evidence of that many times, though.
Yes, but in season 2, and comparing it to this episode, we never would have thought that.
Well, and just looking at this season, I didn't expect Henry to make an agreement like he did with Smith. And we'll get into that more when we get to that, because I have a lot of comments on that. But I kind of that surprised me.
Yeah.
When he shook his hand.
Nathan and Lucas would never be civil with each other.
Yeah, I think that was not expected by a lot of people.
Much less be friendly. I mean, they were being downright friendly with each other at some points.
How about we'll never hear anyone be called Mountie Jack again?
That's a good one. You're right. I never thought we would hear someone else called Mountie Jack again.
And that's the only person I will ever allow to be called that.
Precisely.
I will accept it and love it.
You will accept it and love it.
It was beautiful.
No one else but Lucas would ever have the all-seeing teacup. The very first scene, before the very first line is spoken, Elizabeth got her teacup and takes a sip and puts it down. Like, oh, Lucas is in jail, so he's passed it on. He's passed the baton for momentarily.
The teacup is just part of the show now.
Pretty much. That's another one. Did you ever think you would see Lucas in jail? That's a never. I never thought I would see Lucas in jail.
Not realistically, no.
No. And once again, according to the show and their perspectives, Lucas was never going to get his name cleared, because that's what he was thinking at the beginning of the episode. He was never going to get his name cleared. So, yep, that's what I was able to come up with so far.
That is quite a few. I'm sure we will potentially think of more as we speak.
Oh, I just thought of another one. Fiona would never be anything less than 100% confident, and it took a lot.
Wavered a few times, but yeah, this was a little bit different.
This was different. This was very different, but I really, really loved how that played out. Can we just go there since we're there?
Yes, please.
Okay. I really, really loved what Nathan told Fiona. He said, don't look away, be direct, and don't be afraid to say no. It's really funny because a friend of mine, we were talking about the episode, and she said, it's so funny because I know they're a couple in real life and they've been in scenes before when they seem to have really good chemistry, and they had great chemistry in other things that I've seen them in. But for some reason, anytime Nathan and Fiona appear on screen together now, I don't see anything. I don't feel any chemistry. It's a purely platonic interaction. And I thought about that for a second, and I said, I wonder if the chemistry came from when they were kind of falling in love, when they were going through those first feelings of the crush stage and the first date stage and getting to know each other and falling in love. So I wonder if it was harder to hide. And now that they're an established and stable and solid couple, I think that they're purposefully dampening the chemistry down and doing their best to not have any.
Well, and there also could be some intentionality with it too. In earlier seasons, there could have been that we want to give a hint of what could happen between these two. And now
Elizabeth, after Jack died, didn't Elizabeth have 4 possibilities? I mean,
right. There was a lot of choices. And so it might have very much been talked about initially, like, oh, we want to leave just a little room in case we want these characters to get together in the future.
Absolutely.
Might be good to show a little bit of flirtation. And now that they've kind of said they're not going to have them together because they're in a real relationship.
Yeah.
And so now they're moving away from that. So who knows? But they have they have a fun chemistry, not a romantic chemistry.
Yes, that's really exactly what I was thinking. Chemistry
that I'm sure comes from just knowing each other so well, being able to play off of each other. And I think it was Brian Bird, somebody tweeted after the episode that they think that maybe a similar conversation has taken place in real life where they're like taking food out of each other's hands and bantering with
that. Because it was very comfortable. It was very comfortable.
It really was. And I think it was really what the character Fiona needed in that moment, because it wasn't a business issue that really was her problem. No. I think the times mostly when we've seen her flustered, have been very business oriented, wanting to be taken seriously as a woman in business and trying to learn a new business as she moved into the oil business. And this was really more of a personal discomfort.
Yeah. And speaking of that personal discomfort, no British accent. I thought they would use it since Jerome Smith has an accent. I just assumed they would have Matthew use it. Oops.
Oh, well, there's the chance we're going to get somebody with a Scottish accent soon.
I know.
So possibly we'll have some more accents coming.
I'll get practicing.
I totally missed. I get so caught up in tweeting and everything. So the first time I watched it, I totally missed the whole mention of this guy. What is his name? Colin.
His name is Colin McCory.
Colin McCory. So I missed the whole reference to him. So when I was watching it again, I was just like,
who?
Who's this? You know?
So this was interesting because I know that we've talked about in the past, what's the big deal if the mind opens besides bad memories?
Right.
But Henry said it, that Colin believes this mind can't be reopened without the risk of collapse. The minds can't be made safe.
No matter what we do.
No matter what we do.
That is exactly why I was so surprised when Gowan made the deal.
Agreed. I know. Oh gosh. I mean, he said, why can't we conduct business the way we used to? Civilized, cordially, across the table over 2 glasses. You know?
Yes, that was exactly what he said.
Indeed.
And it really went back and forth in the scene. And this is what confused me. So then he poured them drinks and then they started talking cordially again. And then they started kind of arguing again.
Yeah, you could tell that Henry, even when he was pouring the drinks and being cordial and civilized, that he was reluctant. He was totally reluctant.
He's still bringing up the ventilation. He's still bringing up the drainage. And then Smith appears to agree with him that it's more about, let's make this a good effort and do it the right way. And if it still doesn't work,
nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Which still seemed a bit misleading, but obviously it appears that he's agreeing that if it's not safe, they won't open it.
See, I took it a different way. I took it as, because he says, we'll allow Miss Miller to handle the affairs of the oil company while you and I handle the mine. We'll work together to make sure conditions remain safe. And if we can't, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And to me, I took that as a veiled way of saying, well, if we have another mine disaster, we tried and failed and we won't do it anymore.
But Henry wouldn't agree to that.
No, that's the biggest thing.
So if anything, Henry took it the way I took it.
I hope.
Okay, so there's two things, and I know we're kind of delving into the end of the show here, but
it's the subject matter.
one thing that keeps nagging at the back of my brain, and I don't think this is probably very likely to be happening, but I actually wrote down, is this season 1 giant grift? Is Henry, I feel like it would be Henry if it's anybody, really playing some cards that we haven't seen yet, that we think he's being taken advantage of, but really he's doing something.
You think that
not in a bad way, in a way to protect the town.
But you think he's operating a sting like Lucas tried to do with Walden.
I almost wonder if there's some sort of foreshadowing with the number of times the word grift was used in this episode. It just kept feeling like there was something going on that we're not aware of. And maybe that's wishful thinking, that I don't want Henry to be taken advantage of or get in a worse spot. And I'd love to see him just come out the hero and be like, I tricked you all and you're going down.
Well, the music was dooming enough, that the background music was very.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Henry keeps disappearing and reappearing.
Can we talk about that entrance?
At exactly the right moment. I mean, if he's not like sci-fi time traveler, I don't know how he's getting the timing down.
But that double door push open and boom, there he is. I was like, wow, the prince has arrived.
Nobody makes an entrance like Gowan.
Apparently not.
And that's just so interesting to me that he can constantly just be like traveling between two countries and manage to show up at the exact right moment when no one knew where he was.
Well, one thing's for certain. Well, two things are for certain. If he is doing one big sting, then he is paying a price for going undercover. He got a sting in the cheek.
Ouch.
And the other thing that is for certain is I think that he is taking either his role or his business affairs, however you want to look at it, he's taking them a bit more seriously, because did you notice how much cleaner cut he looked? His beard was more manicured, his hair was shorter, it wasn't as scraggly. I think he's starting to take better care of himself to be a more respected man of business and to show that he means business.
Right. And that's where I don't really feel like he is spiraling the way it seems he's spiraling.
Yeah.
A few episodes ago, he looked pretty disheveled.
He did.
And it would be easier to think that he's kind of losing his grip on reality or right and wrong and what to do.
Well, Florence and Molly sure think that he is.
Well, and I don't blame them given the information they have and how he's presented himself. I mean, granted, I want to say he was that very much impressed me that he approached them and said, I'm sorry. He didn't dance around it at all.
No, he wasn't going to try to sugarcoat it in any way. He just got a little bit more than he bargained for. So
I don't know if that's possible, that there's something else going on that's that deep anyway. I think that he felt like if it's not a big trick, I think that he felt like in that moment they're going to do this with or without me, and if they do it with me, I can try to keep it safe.
Yeah, that's another never. I just thought of another one. Florence would never strike Henry. That really, really took me by surprise. I knew that she would be angry. I saw that you tweeted the slap heard around the world.
The slap heard around Hope Valley. It wasn't that. It was just
it wasn't that you said world. Yeah. Oh no, you said the slap heard around Hope Valley. My bad. But with how far they've come and how he's the closest thing that Ned, her husband, has to.
That's a really good point. Friend. I forgot that.
Yeah, he was the best man asked on the day of the wedding. And
that wasn't in this episode.
No, he wasn't anywhere to be seen. I missed him.
I didn't really think about it in that context, but now that I hope he's in the next one to see that dynamic with him being friends with Gowan.
Yeah. And I knew she'd be angry. I knew she may say something hateful, but I never thought that she would go that far as to strike him.
Well, and honestly, the slap, while obviously huge, saying that he is such a hateful man, I actually thought that was more powerful than the slap.
That's the deeper sting. Absolutely.
Because that, I mean, for us, because we're seeing all of Gowan on screen, I don't think that could be further from the truth. But from her perspective, that's how she's feeling. She's only hearing part of the story.
Right.
Oh, so what do you think about Gilchrist?
I don't know what to
Read him.
I can't read him. He is obviously hitting on Fiona.
Well, there was
Yeah.
that.
I mean, blatantly. And
But he was also quite respectful when she actually said something.
when she was
He
direct.
He may have completely thought she returned his feelings up until that moment. Like, you don't know.
That's
She called
okay.
him.
I didn't even consider that.
She called him back in San Francisco from Hope Valley.
Yeah, she did.
You know, I mean, he very well could be misreading signals.
It's true. I did not even think of it that way. I just, like I said, when we first heard them talking on the phone together, I imagined somebody as old as Jerome Smith being completely creepy and totally inappropriate.
Right.
And
based on just how uncomfortable she seemed to be feeling.
Right.
And granted, she has every right to feel uncomfortable no matter what, if the feelings are unwanted. But if she has not said a word to him, and you know, maybe he has put his hand on her shoulder in other meetings and smiled at her, and she's just smiled back. Like, maybe he is not knowing how she feels. And when she very politely, you know, stated that, he seemed
backed off a little bit,
and he seemed surprised.
He was very surprised, but I
seemed arrogant. I know, but I'm just, in the moment, he didn't seem arrogant. He didn't seem like he was going to continue to pressure her.
I don't know. When they're sitting at the table and he said, "I didn't touch him, did I, Miss Miller?" That was, see, I took that as very pointed. Like,
I didn't see it come off that way.
Oh, I did. I saw that as very pointed, and okay, two can play this game, Missy. You know, it worried me. It did.
Here's the thing that I wonder about, and it's sort of along those lines, but I get a really odd vibe on the dynamic between Gilchrist and Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they're like in cahoots with each other and trying to, you know, throw people off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is Faith the only one allowed to say cahoots?
I'm sorry. No.
You laugh at me. Faith,
you are. No, it's just a fun word. I just love the word.
It's a fun word. I laughed so hard when she said it. But I don't know if they're trying to trick everyone else into thinking they don't get along, or if they're really trying to like undermine each other. But they really appear to be trying to make the other one look bad to everyone.
Yeah, and trying to get a read on Gilchrist. He wants to do his due diligence and go visit the mine, which I think was a little pushy. And then,
considering that they hadn't brought up the subject of the mine yet, that seems weird that he asked to go see it at that moment.
But then he asks Joseph, of all people, about the mine disaster, and he is sincerely listening to him. I thought it was so funny the way Joseph answered. He's like, "Well, my family and I weren't living here at the time." Like, you just moved here. Not only were you not living here at the time, you've been here
the newest residents.
You've been here under a year. I did find it very
kind of funny because most of the like main characters came after that.
Most of the ones that we have now, yeah. I mean, even Elizabeth came after the mine disaster.
Elizabeth, Rosemary, Lee, Bill. I mean, Bill at least was investigating it, so he knows a lot about it. But
it still wasn't. It still had already happened when he arrived. I think we're down to Ned, Mike, and he left. You know, but not permanently.
Right.
But we're down
to like Florence and Molly.
Yeah, we're down to Ned, Mike, Henry, Florence, and Molly. That's who we're down to.
And I mean, if you're counting kids, we still have like Emily.
I was just gonna say, if you're counting children, there's Anna was there, Anna and Emily. But as far as adults who had most of, if not all the facts, yeah, we're down to Mike, Ned, Henry, Florence, and Molly. We're down to 5 adults left. So yeah, but Joseph does know a thing or two about the scars that the disaster has left behind because he's the pastor. So
you know that people have talked to him.
Well, and it was interesting the way Molly talked about those scars. They were very light and very wistful, but it was said all the same that she misses somebody there to take care of her.
Yeah.
But she doesn't even remember what it's like because Patrick has been gone so long. It's like, oh.
Yeah. I'm really glad Florence and Molly have each other.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes that bond so powerful.
Oh, that's definitely one of the big things is they went through that together. And they're the only 2 women left who did go through that together. And okay, so can I just say this? I was really, really glad to see a little bit of PTSD dealing with the mine, because I thought that the explosion of the oil derrick in season 8, I thought that was going to bring on PTSD in the town, in the people. You know, I imagined close-ups of Molly and Florence and Clara just hearing the explosion and all the blood drains from their faces. So, and then I was kind of disappointed when they didn't go anywhere with that explosion, but it's happening now. And we saw in the preview that there's another big boom coming, and it seems like everybody is affected in more of memory of the mines.
Right. And we'll get to that.
Yes.
So Gilchrist might be good, might be bad. I think we're pretty sure Smith not on the up and up. I mean, he's been too back and forth.
No, he's dealing something dirty.
He might not be horribly bad, but he's hiding something, and he doesn't have the best of intentions. For sure. Gilchrist could go either way. I feel like there's still that possibility that there's something, there's more than meets the eye, potentially. And I kind of hope so. Matthew's a wonderful actor.
She can't bear the thought of seeing him play a bad guy.
I've seen him play a bad guy. That's not an issue.
That's not an issue.
We've been there. But I don't know. And somebody did tweet at us. I don't know if you saw it. Is this the next bet? Are you and I going to bet? Are you? I think it was Brian. It might have been Brian.
Oh, it might have been Brian.
Brian.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Brian Bird. I'm like, what?
No.
So I don't have enough facts.
I don't have enough facts either, but I'm hoping he might turn out okay.
I don't have enough facts, and I don't have enough visual evidence of Gilchrist to decide one way or the other. I still hold that he's a little creepy. So we'll see where that goes. I think he's a little too pushy in the personal department.
Oh, yeah. He could use some help in that area.
Maybe Florence should go over to him.
He should read some more of Molly's etiquette column.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure eventually will have the readers all in a tizzy over by the bulletin board, but not quite yet. I'm not sure why she thought that could possibly be what was going on.
Because of course that was the most important thing happening in town. Poor Molly.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of Molly, her coworker had a lot of screen time this episode.
A lot.
This may have been one of Faith's largest episodes.
It definitely was one of, if not the largest one. And I mean, she's the doctor now.
She really is. And she had it all together.
Yeah, she did have it all together. I mean, she's taking care of Bill. She's giving advice to Nathan. She's even talking to Elizabeth. You know, I mean, there's a lot that Faith was doing in this episode.
Yes. So,
and she also gives Rosemary some very good news. So, that. I just couldn't leave that out in the list, you know.
Yes, that's fair. She, couple different things. So she was talking with Bill about Hickam leaving, which was intriguing. So there've been a few episodes where we thought, okay, maybe there's some feelings between her and Hickam. She did seem very concerned that he was gone, but not overly personally.
No, not hurt. He
left and didn't say goodbye.
Right.
Really quick, do you think he set it up very much as I just need to get away for a little bit of time, clear my head. But then the way other people are talking about it, it's like, oh my gosh, he's gone. Did he really leave?
Well, I think it's the leaving on top. I think it's the leaving on top of him saying he wants to resign.
But other people didn't hear that part.
We don't know that. We don't know that they didn't hear. He only talked about it with Bill, but we don't know if he has spoken about it with other people off screen. And so I think the resigning, and then you put on top of that, he's leaving. It's kind of like, is Hickam having a mental breakdown?
Right.
So I still find this whole situation with Mike very, very interesting, that all of these episodes are just, you know, building him up. He's gonna be a great mayor. He was the right man for the choice, and leave just fighting tooth and nail against the idea. And then boom, you know?
Right. I mean, I totally get his conscience of it, and his explanation was beautiful.
No,
of I've always been able to say yes, and I love helping people, and now I can't say yes.
Yeah, but the very fact that it happened, you know, I totally understand his train of thought, but the fact that it happened is a big boom. And just wait, what? We were finally comfortable with the idea of Hickam being Hope Valley's mayor. And now the carpet's been ripped out from under us again.
There's definitely more to this story, and I'm sure a really amazing way to wrap it up, but I'm not sure what it could possibly be at this point.
I mean, we've got 2 more episodes, Sarah.
There's not a lot of time, and if he's gone for a little while, I either don't expect him back the next episode, or I don't know.
So,
but he has to come back. That's all I care about.
Well, because I think you'll join Bill in bringing him back.
There will be search parties, I'm telling you.
You and I are going to just fly up to Canada and go find him, right?
We'll find him.
So, speaking of people who are absent, can I just make one tiny little observation? When Nathan is kind of walking around with this newly found flashlight, because that's apparently the newest invention in town lately. Did you see his face when he stopped by the soda fountain? You did.
like he's looking longingly through the window.
Yes, he is. And the light was on in the soda fountain, and the lights were not on in any other shop on Main Street, or whatever you want to call that. But yeah, he stopped and he kind of stayed at the door for a second, and then he heard Lucas drive up and it snapped him back to life, So yeah.
So, I mean, you want that to mean like he's missing May.
That's what I had intended it meant.
But it also could just be he really wanted ice cream.
Sarah.
He loves ice cream. I'm sorry.
He's missing his ice cream. Oh my gosh, now you got me saying it. I can't even say it with a straight face.
Faith is not there with the key. He's like, man, what? What can I do?
So which woman do I miss more?
Either one could get him ice cream late at night.
You ruined it, Sarah. I intended it that he was missing May.
I'm glad that May was mentioned again. That gives me good hope that, they are looking at resolving that and her coming back. I don't think, if their plan was to just have her kind of gone for a while, I would think they maybe wouldn't mention her every episode. Who knows? But yeah, I hope she comes back. Speaking of the women in Nathan's life, though, he had quite the conversation with Faith this episode. And I don't know, do you think that was flirtatious?
It didn't feel flirtatious, but I can see where it could go that way. Yeah, but it didn't feel flirtatious to me.
Right.
What did it to you?
No, not necessarily, but
Yeah.
I think it's kind of teasing with everybody. And so there were a few moments when I thought that could be flirtatious. And then I was like, no, but she also did that with Bill when she was, oh, that's excellent blood pressure for someone you're,
but there was no teasing in the conversations he had with Elizabeth. Yikes. Those were some serious conversations.
How so? What are you specifically thinking of?
So I'm specifically thinking of the judge's office when he finds out. Okay, did you think that Elizabeth was being a little unfair to Nathan when she kind of snaps at him? Nathan, will you please just listen?
So what's interesting is when I watched it the first time, I wrote down that she raised her voice to him.
Yeah.
Because that was the impression it left with me, is that she really did snap.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I rewatched it to get the wording, I was like, oh, she actually doesn't raise her voice at all. She's quite quiet.
But it's the scary quiet.
Snappy. She still used scary teacher voice, but
yeah.
But it was not it left me with that impression of being very gruff. And then I was like, oh, well, I guess it really wasn't awful. She didn't yell at him the way I kind of had the impression she had.
She didn't yell at him, but I mean, I wrote, I made a list again. I wrote down all the charges that Nathan mentioned: hit and run of a Mountie, tampering with evidence, leaving the scene of a crime, almost killing a Mountie and his horse. I mean, if that had been Jack, she would have 100% been on his side. But because the plea deal will get Lucas off, I totally understand that she wants him to take it. I just wish that she would have been a little bit more understanding of what he was dealing with.
But here's the thing. When she snapped at him, that was before he made that list.
It was.
And when he made that list, she kind of sighed and seemed more resigned to understanding where he was coming from.
A little bit. A little bit.
Frustrated. Of course, you have to advocate for your position. I mean,
oh yeah.
This is appearing to be the only way that your boyfriend can be exonerated for something that all of you in the room know he didn't do at this moment, because this guy is asking for the plea deal and admitting to what he did. Everybody here knows the truth. So I can see her being extremely frustrated with going, we know 100%, and here you want an innocent man to go to jail and ruin our lives.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that it was a bad situation and she had every right to be frustrated. I thought she was being a tiny bit unfair to him in that moment. Lucas was being calmer than she was.
I think he didn't think there was any chance that the plea would be taken.
I didn't think he thought that as well.
I think that he felt like that was just it.
He was resigned to the idea.
Not necessarily that nothing else would ever come of it to get him exonerated, but I think he was like, this is not it. There's no way Nathan's going to do it. And this
isn't the avenue.
This just won't happen. And I also think he feels like there's zero way to ask Nathan to do that from his standpoint.
Yeah.
Lucas can't ask him that. Knowing their history, knowing everything, there's no way he can ask that. Elizabeth can. She is in a different position.
Yeah. And it's funny that Nathan tells her that he is advising Bill to take the plea deal. He doesn't tell Lucas.
And he goes to tell her at a time when he knows Lucas is busy.
Uh-huh. He could have waited. He could have told Lucas, but I think he wanted her to know that he's on her side. And that was something I was really, really glad she said. I was really glad that she acknowledged how hard this decision was for him to make. And I kind of went, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because you do owe him that.
Yeah.
You need to acknowledge how hard this was.
And I think also it was really important for Nathan to have that conversation with Lucas that he had outside the ice cream shop and really try to impress upon him that how hard it is for him. Because I don't think Lucas before that really thought it was about anything else other than them.
Did you notice the music in the background when
Lucas
walked away?
That is your forte.
That's my forte. It was the sad, tragic violins that they always play when something very sad or very dramatic or very desperate is happening. And so
it did feel very desperate.
It did. It felt very desperate. And it also felt very sad with Nathan saying, I haven't made up my mind yet. This decision is very hard for me. And it's not about us. You know, there was very much a resigned sadness in both of them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they had the very sad violin music that they play when something tragic happens. So
on a happier note, Rosemary's pregnant. Yay! Maybe, possibly.
Okay.
But she's at least glowing.
If she's not,
there's no way she's not. But
if she's not, I will fly up there.
Now, obviously, in real life, things don't always end happily, and people don't always get everything that they've wished for and prayed for. So there's that little piece in the back of my mind where I'm like, this is wonderful, but it's not always that realistic to have it end this way. So in real life, we wouldn't know that this is actually happening and that this is going to work out. But I kind of feel like this one's going to work out. Okay, so we talked last week about our semi predictions over this. So far, Lee does not know. He may have suspicions, but he does not know at this point.
My mother has said so many times in the past, and we didn't watch this episode together or anything, but I could hear her saying it in my ear. It's so ridiculous when men on TV and in movies don't know when their wife is pregnant, and it's such a huge surprise. They live with them, for crying out loud. And I have to admit, there's some truth to that.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
He knows she's nauseous.
And he also knows her cycles, and if it's not happening, then he should probably suspect something, and so it's just funny. But even she didn't suspect that she was pregnant. She said it was the oddest flu she'd ever had.
I have to say, I love that Faith took the stethoscope and spoke into it. I thought that was the cutest, most clever way that scene could have played out.
Yeah.
And I also love how Rosemary immediately had to lay down, and so she helped her lay down, and then she immediately had to get back up and keep talking about it.
Do you think, because the stethoscope was on her stomach, do you think she was hearing a slight heartbeat?
I didn't see it actually on her stomach. I felt it was just kind of just on her lower rib cage, but
I saw it on her stomach, and she was kind of going, wait, what is that?
It could be, who knows? But it seems kind of like it would be early, and Faith didn't even try to listen. So
no.
It's so interesting to me. Like, I know they didn't have all of the stuff back then, but it was so weird to me that like this diagnosis came after reviewing your chart.
But after reviewing your chart, and all indications point towards you being pregnant. Well,
I've reviewed your chart and gone over your paperwork. Like, what is in this paperwork?
I don't know. But one thing I do know.
You don't even like touch her belly or like anything.
I guess not.
Listen with the stethoscope. There's nothing. There's no actual physical examination.
I think that there probably was at some point, but I don't know.
It was just so funny to me. I mean, like, I got all the vibes too. Like, yes, all indications are pointing that way. However,
but one thing I do know is I'm no longer upset that Lee doesn't know, because I remember last week I said he better not be the last one to find out, even though she has now talked to Faith.
I was gonna say
and Elizabeth and Joseph.
I wrote down, so Faith knows, Elizabeth knows, Joseph knows, Molly probably knows. She works there. Yeah.
However, Elizabeth figured it out.
She was gonna tell her. I do think she was gonna tell her. Right?
She was gonna tell her, but Elizabeth figured it out. And the way that scene was played was so beautiful, and it was so bonding between the two of them that, and I can't help but think back to 5 years ago when I told you before I told my husband that I was pregnant with Jack. And it's just one of those things that you want to share with a woman. And Elizabeth figured it out because Elizabeth figured it out because she's been pregnant before. So
right. And I want to also call attention to, and I know other people have called attention to this already as well, but there were so many parallels in that scene with the scene when Elizabeth found out she was pregnant with Abigail. And I mean, I even like when I was watching it, I was like, so they've shown a lot of side-by-sides online. Her blouse is almost the same. It looks like almost the same shirt that she was wearing in the other scene. Her hair is done the same way. Granted, not with the season 5 wig, which we will not mention again. But it was styled in the same manner. And her line almost mimicked Abigail's line when she said, "You're going to have a baby."
Gonna have a baby.
I mean, they phrased it the same way.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really nice way to mirror that.
Yeah, it definitely was.
And what about Rosemary's scene with Joseph?
I didn't quite know what to think about that because, I mean, she was satisfying her craving for the gooey butter cake, which apparently somebody else is now craving gooey butter cake.
So I've narrowed it down to 2 recipes that I found online. I would like to try both of them to see which one is better, but I only have enough ingredients currently at my house to make one.
Oh, you poor
So,
thing.
because I would like, I mean, for research purposes for the podcast,
Absolutely.
of course.
Yes.
I felt like it would be the responsible podcaster thing to do to make both like at the same time and like compare them perfectly.
Completely.
Right. I mean, that's but I may have to just make one of them, the gooey butter cake for the win. See, you'll even appreciate this. There's my
oh wow. I definitely appreciate that being the note.
I knew I did it just for you.
Yes, you did. As for the actual scene,
yeah.
As for the actual scene, I don't know. I was a little tiny bit disappointed that she's trying so hard to keep it quiet so that Lee's heart won't be broken. And by the way, her motives, completely pure, completely beautiful. She knows that Lee desperately wants a child and she does not want him to be brokenhearted. So I can think of very little else that I would find more endearing than for a reason to keep the pregnancy from Lee. But then, I mean, Joseph and Lee are business partners.
But Joseph is the pastor.
He is the pastor.
If anyone is going to keep something
confidential
and personal, it would be him. It was tied to discussing prayer, which made sense that then she would talk to the pastor about it, and that they have a history of talking with each other about prayer. So the whole thing made sense. And also, this is Rosemary. Okay. She
has to tell somebody's.
She's not good at keeping things quiet. She likes to have conversations. She likes to share lots of information, hers and other people's. This is huge news. You're pregnant for the first time. You feel horrible sometimes, and you're dealing with all these emotions. There's all these things going on. You're an outgoing person anyway, and then you're trying not to talk about like the most important thing that's ever happened to you.
That's like me keeping a pregnancy quiet. Yeah.
And that's why you didn't. So there, so we've already established that. So, but given the choices of people that she could have told, granted, she may have told other people that we haven't seen on screen. This could be one of those like everybody knew. But really, Joseph doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me. I just thought, who else are you gonna tell, honey?
And she didn't flat out tell.
No, she didn't.
She kept it. I don't vague enough.
She kept it relatively vague.
Here's the thing. If he wasn't a husband and father already, he may have missed the cues.
True.
He probably caught them, but a young single guy might have missed that.
Also true. Yes. Okay, but you mentioned how Rosemary tells everybody other people's business.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Valley Voice outing the mine reopening? I wasn't sure how I felt about that.
I'm still not 100% sure how I felt about that, but I do think that I kind of agreed with Rosemary's ending statement to Elizabeth about it. It was the right thing to do. She went about it the wrong way. She learned from that. She knows she shouldn't have done it that way. But I do think she was right that people needed to know.
I also saw things kind of from Elizabeth's perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
In that, can you please just wait till you have all the facts and then print what you want and people can think what they want? I won't care. But I don't want you telling half the story, which makes Lucas look worse than he already does look. And I told you that in the strictest confidence. I specifically asked you not to say anything, and you gave your word.
Right.
You know, I mean, I would have been very
And I did. Oh, absolutely. Again, I wish we could read the actual article, because once Elizabeth
read it, she presented it. Yeah.
Once Elizabeth read it, she seemed fine with it. So
Yeah.
Obviously the way that they wrote it was respectfully done. It wasn't like gossip. It was factual. Mm-hmm. So even if they didn't have all the facts, what they presented was factual. And also, I feel like it's one of those things where now Gilchrist's in town. Fiona's kind of hinting around certain things. There's enough people in town that it wasn't as big of a secret anymore, even though people hadn't really released all of that information. It was more of a, this is actually like happening now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If she had waited, it only would have been one day because it was out that day.
Yeah, that's true.
So there isn't a lot for that. And also I loved Rosemary and Elizabeth talking at the same time, and I couldn't understand a word they were saying.
Yeah, I was watching it with the closed captions on the second time, and
I couldn't even figure that out because it was mixing them together.
Yeah, it was completely mixing them together. So, but there's something else that is now weighing on Elizabeth's mind concerning Lucas. We probably should mention it.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I would talk about that. Usually when you see a man holding a ring box
or something that is the size of a ring box and opens like a ring box, and
if it looks like a ring box, and in the previews we'd seen before, which are now appear to be from next week's episode, when he's actually holding the ring box in front of her.
Yeah, and she's got, it looks like his coat on her.
We very much just we discussed, like, okay, so it's either a proposal or it's not, but he's acting like it has something to do with a proposal or discussing a future proposal. We talked about maybe it's an empty box, maybe he's, but I don't see him pulling out a ring box that nonchalantly with little Jack in the room and her sitting right there and just casually, oh yeah, I never gave you a birthday present. Like,
maybe he's working on his little gestures.
She doesn't like big gestures, so just pretend like proposing is not a big deal at all.
I mean, that the Jack proposal is going to be hard to top, because that was one of the best proposals in all TV history, in my humble opinion.
I'm super torn about how you do this one differently enough.
Yeah.
Still let it stand on its own 2 feet, because you want it to be great.
Yeah. I do not think it's an empty ring box, because he said it was her birthday present.
So do you think it's like earrings or something?
It could still be a ring. It could still be a ring. But, and I mean, we know that previews are meant to lead us astray.
Exactly.
She says, I thought you were going to propose, then maybe you changed your mind. And we don't know when that is going to fit in the episode.
Right.
The box is the right size for earrings. The box is the right size for a necklace if you tuck the chain
Right.
under, but most necklaces back then, they had them in the long boxes.
The longer boxes, yeah.
So it has to be.
It could be like a brooch.
It could be. So it has to be a brooch or earrings or a ring.
I mean, it's a jewelry box.
It is.
I think we can establish it's a jewelry box.
I don't think there's another compass in there. You know.
No, and she already gave him a pocket watch, so it's probably not any sort of watch.
Can we talk about that?
Beautiful.
The look in her eyes when she gave that to him, she was shooting out rays at him saying, "Are you getting this? Are you getting this?" Her eyes were shining. Her eyes were shining.
Hint. Please pick up on this hint. And if that wasn't enough, open it up and read the inscription, because that is pretty clear.
That is very clear. And this is going to sound really, really nutty, but you know me in words. And I absolutely love that Lucas called the watch handsome.
Yes.
That is the perfect word that a man of his class would say about a piece like that.
Yes, it was very well written. And I love that he referenced it again later. And what did he say? Spectacular?
My very fine,
I think he said my spectacular
new pocket watch. Yeah. So he's using the words that we would expect to come out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck out to me so much, that he called the watch handsome and that she was shooting those eye rays at him, and he responded with just as sincere and tender of a look.
Yeah.
He got it. He got the message.
Yeah. Oh, well, the time has come for them, apparently, but also the time has come. He's feeling like he needs to do some more building. He didn't do so well in the library, but apparently he's going to try treehouse. And so, if that's not enough, he decides, let's get some help from a toddler.
So we think he can build a treehouse after the wonderful job he did on the shelves?
Well, Elizabeth is trusting him with it. I might, if I was her, just add some specifications on how high up in a tree this could be. Maybe it's a tree house that's just like next to a tree, like on the ground. Jack's 3?
3.
He's 3. We don't need to go up that high.
Maybe have Lucas build the ladder that would lead to the treehouse, and then have Mike and Nathan work on the treehouse.
All I'm picturing though is the treehouse in Aaron's last movie. It was always you and like falling off the ladder.
You stole my thunder of my line, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna mention the library shelves, but you had to go and talk about the library.
You didn't warn me. A question I had though about that is, when she says you can try this out, see how it goes with little Jack, he might just really enjoy spending time with you outside. He'll probably be playing with rocks. This is the second mention of his fascination with rocks. She had checked out the book from the library about rocks for him, which seemed a little above his reading level, but
I think that was a cover.
So I'm wondering if this is foreshadowing of something.
It has to be, because she looked at the sign that Nathan made her, always do what you're afraid to do. And then she checked out the geology book. And I think that she's trying to get more education. That's what I think she's doing. I think she's trying to get more education.
Huh. I was just simply thinking that something was going to happen with Jack and Rox at some point.
Oh, you took that at face value? Oh my.
Well, no, but like something scary, like, you know, if he runs away, but he was like looking and collecting rocks, or he was throwing rocks at something and something breaks, or, you know, just something along the lines of like, they're really trying to get us to understand that this kid likes rocks.
Well, there's a big boom that might cause rocks to fall next week.
Yeah. So I don't know if that could be something, or if it's just, or it might even be something that isn't really something that happens to him, but maybe they're worried something's going to happen to him.
Maybe.
But that just seemed a little odd. But also, before we're done with this topic, is how cute was little Jack in Lucas's office for the first time?
Hey, buddy.
If somebody's not smiling, you just shove their lips up, right?
It made him laugh.
That was the perfect scene.
That was the best.
And just touching everything on the shelves and nobody caring. Like, I was just like, oh, he's gonna break something, you know, like, what's that? What's that? What's that? And I do wonder how much of that was just put Highland in the room and see what he says.
Yeah.
Because it was just, oh, a dragon. Oh, what's that?
Can you picture Peter DeLuise going right up to him and saying, okay, I want you to take Chris's face and do this. and him just going, okay.
Oh my goodness. So, scenes for next week. Predictions?
Well, I predict Minnie and Angela are coming back.
Wow, since they were in the preview, that's a really great prediction.
I'm that good.
That will not be our next bet.
No, it won't. We hear Lucas say happy belated birthday. We hear Elizabeth say, I thought you were going to propose, then maybe you changed your mind. So.
And we see him hold the box out to her.
Right.
And say, here's your birthday present.
Right in front of her face. So.
Right. And she looks shocked in that moment. So I almost wonder if that visual is before the conversation.
Maybe.
And then it's not a ring. And then she's disappointed and he doesn't know why. And then she has that conversation with him at some point afterwards.
Because since it's not a ring, maybe she thinks changed his mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. There's also the possibility that this is me romanticizing it.
Ooh, good. Let's hear.
Ooh. He holds out the ring box to her. She takes it, opens it, and when she looks past the box to him, he's on his knee.
Totally. I still find it so odd that he would be that nonchalant with the ring box.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%.
Not that anybody could be, but
no, him.
Knowing Lucas.
He took her up in a balloon, you know?
Yeah. And honestly, here's the thing. I wonder if when it happens, if it won't be a big, giant hoopla, but I wonder if he'll involve little Jack.
Here, mommy, my buddy has a present for you.
In some way, it just seems like that would be a way to set it apart.
Yeah,
have it be more of a family moment then.
Yeah, but I mean, and while I think that would be adorable, I think that this is one moment that I would like to see between the two of them. But I mean, like
it just depends how he does it. Yeah,
I'm not making any bets.
Yeah, this one I don't have enough information.
Not. But I will say that one shocking thing that happened in the preview is Henry shouting and throwing things across a table saying, how much money did, the car.
It was the hood of a car.
How much money did he pay for the lives that were lost here? I'm like, whoa.
Now, okay, so maybe I heard it wrong. Did he say were lost here? So it's about the previous mine disaster? I thought he was saying the lives that could be lost here.
I thought he said were, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so here's
where our next bet?
I was thinking. Apparently that's our next, but I mean, we can just rewatch it and find out. Okay, so firstly, there is a man standing next to Gowan in that scene, and we do not see his face. He has very, very white hair.
Okay.
And so at first, the first time I watched it, I was like, who on earth could this be? So then when I rewatched it and found out about this Colin guy, I think it's Colin, is my guess. And so my prediction would be that Colin shows up and someone has gotten to him. And now his story is that you can make the mine safe if you do this.
Oh, how much money?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, and my theory is that if that's true, Gowan made this deal, made this arrangement, knowing he could bring Colin in and prove to them that it can't be done, and that then they would have to back off.
That's a possibility.
So
and
now
I thought
backed in a corner.
I thought it was bringing up the past again.
And so, and it could be, if I misheard it, that could be, and it still could be Colin for another reason. I don't know who else would be just showing up now.
No. And then we hear a big boom.
So here's something.
Okay.
Of all the people that they show when we hear the big boom, I don't see Gowan.
But it only shows Elizabeth, Rosemary, and little Jack together, and then Lucas.
I thought it showed a few other people looking out their windows.
I did not see. The previews happen so fast.
They do.
And, but I thought it was just the four of them, that it was those three together. And then I loved how Lucas is sitting at his desk and then he just kind of looks up. It reminded me of when the Titanic hit the iceberg and people are kind of like, I felt a shudder. What was that? You know, and it was a huge tragedy, obviously, that ensued.
If that was in fact the moment that the boom is actually heard, and that's the actual reaction, this wasn't pieced together differently. If Lucas didn't know that was going to happen, it's nothing planned. It's nothing like we're trying to, do a controlled explosion to, prep something.
Right.
I'm going with the theory that Gowan is gonna do something to sabotage it so it can't be reopened.
Oh, that's a good theory.
Because now if Colin has been paid off and he sees no way out, he's backed into a corner and his future is going to be tied to this no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he knows this will send him to jail, even if he knows his future is over, I think that's what he would do at this point.
I guess we'll see.
Boom.
Boom. Big boom.
It would be a really big boom.
Oh boy.
And that is probably going to be the last moment of the show, and we won't actually know till the finale.
It wouldn't surprise me. I hope it's not, but it wouldn't surprise me.
And I hope that he's able to do, if he does that he's not hurt in that either.
Yeah, we don't want Gowan to be hurt anymore. In season 1 and 2, we wouldn't have minded. But now we kind of like the guy. Yeah, we kind of like him. Just a little
bit. Well, Hearties, tell us your opinions, tweet with us. Let us know what your predictions are and what you thought of this episode, and we will see you back next week.
Yes, we shall.
All right. Good night, Hearties.